Hi, folks, and welcome back to Cigarettes, Coffee, and Christ. I am your host, Thaddeus Paul Collins. I have been gone a while, and I apologize for that. Things have been nuts. I quit my job. I couldn't handle working 7 days a week and living on site and being on call 24/7 and no sleep, and it was just crazy. But I'll find something soon. Plus, I got plenty of Bitcoin and savings to float me for a while, and hopefully crank out a few episodes before I go back to work somewhere. Um, so when we last left off, it was with Ethan Moore from the podcast Mean and Sober. It's an excellent pod. You should all listen to it. I pimp it so hard because I think they are really good and should be bigger than they are. But anyway, shout out to Ethan and John for their great content. I fumbled through the end of it and it was a little embarrassing on my end. I fumbled over my words. I didn't really prepare as much as I should have and kind of came off sounding like a goober. But it was a good learning experience, and Ethan was a pro as always, and it showed me some areas I can work on. So I only bring this up to clarify part of our discussion in which it seems like I was condoning gay marriage. So I just wanted to quickly define my stance on homosexuality and gay marriage, and it probably won't be a satisfying one. My stance is that I don't have a stance. The Bible only mentions it 5 or 6 times, a few times in the Old Testament and a few times in the New Testament. Greed is mentioned over 25 times. Idolatry is mentioned over 40 times, and homosexuality is almost always listed with other similar sins such as lust and idolatry. So looking at porn, staring at a hot chick, or divorcing your spouse are all on the same page, literally. I mean, they're lumped together all the time. And on the other side of that, the word love in relation to others is used 400 to 500 times depending on the translation. There are over 40 direct commands to love others and at least 11 commands using the exact phrase love one another in the New Testament alone. So gay stuff falls pretty low on my concern list. My sins, your sins are all the same. I sin no more or no less than the gays. The big difference being, of course, that as Christians, our sins are wiped clean. But this is through no ability or actions of our own, so on the ground floor, we are no different. So just worry about your own shit, and to any concerned listeners, I promise you I will never sleep with a man or get gay married. But I will keep on sinning like every other human until the day I die. We don't have a choice in that. That's just kind of the nature of it. If you are gay and you happen to stumble across this pod, which is unlikely, and you want to know Christ, then just seek a relationship with him. Worry about that first, and you can worry about the other stuff later. Just really try to get to know him and talk to him, and yeah, see where it goes from there. Sorry, it's early. I'm not quite up yet. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into something far less controversial. Black folks. I only have a few stories to go over, but before that, I'm going to do the stereotypical white guy thing of claiming I have black friends, because I do, a lot. I lived in the Bay Area, mainly Oakland, for around 7 years. I lived in black areas of town because those were the places I could afford. I was the only white guy in my building several times, and it was never an issue. They were just my neighbors. I was mugged a few times, but I've been mugged a lot more in the little white town I live in. I've had my roommate rob me. I've been held up at knife point at, anyway. So that happens anywhere. I even smoked crack with these two dudes, Ken and Rush. I hung out in the corner drinking 40s like everyone else. And if you think me saying black people smoke crack and drink 40s is racist, then you're missing the point, because I was right there doing the same shit. These were my friends and neighbors, for better or worse. Then in the treatment program I went through, the majority of people in there were Black and Hispanic, many out of jail, and in there I made some of my closest friends I will ever have. They are my brothers and will never be viewed as anything less than family. After that, I helped start a homeless outreach with my sister on Union Avenue in Bakersfield. This neighborhood is 95% Black. I ran after school programs for the kids in the area. I did food drives and even had overnight childcare so these kids wouldn't have to be in the room while their moms worked. It covers everything. Some of them were nurses, some of them were prostitutes, and everything in between. I lived on site above the center. I lived and shopped and worked with these folks and love them with all my heart. I literally have lived with Black folks more than white folks in my adult life. Now that I've got all of my credentials and white-splaining and virtual signaling out of the way, we can get to the topic at hand. Now, I'm going to show this video. It's just a little recap of what's been going on with the topic. And I'm pretty sure I can show this. I looked it up as long as I don't use still images and the news station is credited. So I'm pretty sure I can play this. So 1 second here.
Scary attack, this time an Asian grandmother beaten and robbed. KPIX5 reporter Betty Yu live for us. Betty, the video in all of these is just senseless. It's very hard to watch.
So hard to watch, Ken, and San Francisco and Oakland have both been hit with a series of crimes against Asians as of late. Tonight, concern over this pattern of violence has spread well beyond the Bay Area. Video shows a 71-year-old grandmother walking across the sidewalk when two suspects suddenly approach. They had hopped out of a car at the end of the block just moments earlier. One suspect knocks her to the ground before yanking her purse so hard the strap breaks off. The victim's son tries to run after the robbers. Another camera shows the same attack on 6th Avenue and International Boulevard. It happened last Wednesday around 11 a.m.
I'm just watching like everything on social media, and it's like happening really close to home and stuff too. So I called her right away. I was like, make sure you don't go out, like don't do anything, don't wear your bags or whatever.
The victim's granddaughter, who didn't want to show her face on camera, said she had warned her grandmother about the rise in attacks against Asian seniors. The victim had just left the bank. Luckily, the suspects didn't get away with her cash.
I don't want to go out the house. We'll try to go get food. I was like, I don't want to go by myself.
The video follows a disturbing string of assaults caught on camera. This one killed 84-year-old Visha Ratanapakdi of San Francisco. Today, Oakland police charged the man who shoved this 91-year-old and attacked two others in Oakland's Chinatown. 28-year-old Yahya Muslim has been in custody since February 1st for an unrelated criminal case. White House correspondent Weijia Jiang asked what President Biden plans to do about the attacks beyond his executive order denouncing anti-Asian racism.
I'm not aware that he's seen the videos, but he is concerned about the discrimination against the actions against the Asian American community, which is why he signed the executive order and why he's been outspoken.
Today, the new Oakland police chief said that he recognizes some people come to Chinatown to target its residents, and despite facing steep budget cuts, the department is devoting what resources it can to keep the community safe. Live in San Francisco, Betty Yu, KPIX 5.
Okay, so that's kind of what's going on. There is an uptick in violence against Asians, but I want to talk about the problem with that. Now, I'm not condoning this violence in any way whatsoever, nor am I even commenting on the race of people committing these crimes. It's kind of the other end of things. So now, after these attacks and the death of, probably going to mess up this name, Avika Ratanapakdi, this flyer circulated in the Bay Area here. And this was not an isolated take on the issue. So this was going around, and if you're listening and not watching, I'll read it for you. It says, Justice for Vika Justice for Vicha Ratanapakdi. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at your name, sir. It's tragic that you died. I apologize for that. But anyway, this flyer went around, and it said, "End the violence towards Asian. Let's unite against white nationalism. 2 p.m. Saturday, February 20th, Washington Square Park." So that's kind of where my beef is with all this. The fact that white folks are being blamed for what is clearly people of another race attacking people of an entirely different race. And this is not like an isolated take on the issue. That's the Bay Area. You know, they're very liberal. But then we have Michael Eric Dyson. He's a race and religion scholar at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. And he had this to say: "Incorrect use of hate crime labeling can have a negative impact on either side on reinforcing the vicious stereotype, the natural black inclination for crime, and that we're thugs. And on the other hand, alerting Asian communities or heightening their awareness about their safety and security may be sending a false signal that there is a non-existent attempt on the part of some black communities to target Asian brothers and sisters." So what does that really mean? It means it's okay to use the term hate crime if it pertains to white people. Otherwise, it leads to negative stereotypes. Dyson said the black community, like others, hasn't been untouched by the Trump administration's incendiary rhetoric, and just as the Asian community isn't immune to perpetuating anti-blackness, the black community can be vulnerable to absorbing the anti-Asian discourse. Another quote by him: "Just because black folks have been oppressed themselves doesn't issue a carte blanche, so to speak, exempting us from looking at whatever possible internalization of certain elements of our community of the hostility toward Asian folk in regard to the China virus and the way in which that discourse targets AAPI folk with such vicious particularity." Dyson said, "History has shown that marginalized communities can be manipulated by white supremacy and that communities of color must be vigilant." So what this guy's saying is that white supremacy and white nationalism is so bad in this country that it's making black people racist against Asians, and it's Trump's and white supremacists' fault that black people are racist and attacking Asians. So, again, look, I'm not commenting on the race of the attackers or the attacked. I'm commenting on me being a white folk being blamed for the actions of these other communities. I did live in these severely oppressed areas. I did live in very black, very poor neighborhoods. And I lived there for a long time in several of these. And I'm not going to say there's not systematic oppression. There is, you know, and again, I know, excuse me, wouldn't be a CCC without a burp in the middle of it. But it's at different hands than you'd think. I mean, I do think the welfare system keeps these people locked in these cycles of generational oppression. I think it's really damaging. I mean, I knew this one woman who was homeless and had 12 kids, and many of them were foster kids, and she was getting all this money. Look, I'm smart enough to know that I'm not smart enough to comment on the riots and the anger. And, you know, when BLM first started getting notoriety, I was kind of with them, to be honest. I am no big fan of cops myself. I've made that clear several times. You know, I respect and obey them till they make me, you know, enforce something that goes against my faith or my beliefs. But, you know, I am told by my faith to respect authority until it, you know, crosses the line and goes against God or whatever. Anyway, I've never been the biggest fan, also as an anarchist and of the cops. But so I'm not I'm not saying they didn't have a right to get angry. I am going to get into a later pod some of the riots and destruction of both sides, Antifa, BLM, and the Capitol stuff. I'm not going to ignore the right side because there's problems on both sides. But I love black people. I know that may sound like a really racist thing to say in this day and age, but I've devoted a year of my life to working with the community. I've lived among black folks, again, like I said, most of my adult life. Music, the culture, good and bad, I really, have no hate in my heart towards them. And I'm sure that could be argued. So I'm really not even commenting on their actions or these attacks. I'm commenting on the fact that I want groups to be accountable for their actions, and individuals, more importantly, to be accountable for their actions. So I don't think violence is good ever. I'm a pacifist. I think force should only be used for defense. Again, I go on those principles. You kind of know where I'm coming from. But I don't want to be blamed for the actions of others. I don't want a whole group of people to be blamed for the actions of another whole group of people. And I don't want to say that all of these attacks on Asians were perpetrated by black folks, but a large percentage of them have been. And the media just ignores that. And I'm not even saying the media needs to pay attention to that, but I do want credit where credit is due. The name of this episode is, hey, look, just put the blame on the people and individuals who are committing these crimes and don't pass it on to a whole group of us. I mean, I know that may sound crazy or weird, but I think that's a pretty simple principle and idea. So I love black folks. I just don't want to be the scapegoat for all of their problems. One more little thing I wanted to comment on here. I know this one's probably pretty short. I thought it sounded longer in my head, but again, I always say it, I would try to get more of these out. Well, we'll see. I came across something else interesting, and this goes more along with critical race theory. And I found this education plan from a Bay Area school. I'm not going to put the entire PDF up. This is a real thing. This is a real program they're implementing in Bay Area schools. I don't know how widespread it is. I don't know how long it's going to be until this is in more curriculums, because the Bay Area kind of influences California a lot of the times, and we know California kind of influences the rest of the country sometimes. So, again, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I have it. I could probably send it to some of you if you want it. But let's see. Let me find that highlighted section. This sums up the tone of this whole article pretty well. So, this is just a little section, and I'll put this up on the screen. Each month, you will complete a set of exercises as outlined in the calendar. You will complete a 5-step cycle as follows. Number 1, engage with the ways that white supremacy culture shows up in math classrooms. 2, reflect on your current classroom practices to identify the ways in which they perpetuate white supremacy culture. 3, plan to dismantle white supremacy culture by creating a goal that incorporates specific anti-racist practices. We're talking about a math class here, okay? We're talking about math class. 4, act with accountability by carrying out the plan. And 5, reflect on the ways in which your practices align with anti-racist math education. That's bonkers. That's some crazy shit. So I'm willing to talk about the problems with some standardized testing and access some black communities have to education and tutors and tools and all that. But I got to draw the line somewhere, and the line is that math is racist. I'm not saying I'm unwilling to have these discussions, but there are some things like numbers that we're inflecting race into. It's just, this is too much, you guys. This is insane. So that's something that's going into play. And just, again, I have to reiterate, I am not commenting on race relations here. I'm not talking about the race of these attackers. I'm not lumping all black people together. I'm simply saying that I am tired of being blamed for the actions of others. I am speaking up for personal accountability. Act how you want. I mean, I don't mean that. I don't want anyone to be violent, but just own that shit and don't put it on me. So I think that's all I had for this one. It's always a hard topic. It's really been bothering me, like everything, not just this. Just, I am being honest with you. I'm having a hard time with where the world is going. And I know a lot of people are, and I know that's kind of gay to say. I'm hurt by the world right now. But I am, man. It sucks. You know, I really feel like we're watching the beginnings of horrible things start to take place. And they have been for a while, and I'm not a conspiracy guy. And it's just getting to the point where it's not conspiracy. You can just visually see just this road we're heading down. And it's getting harder and harder to be open-minded. And it's getting harder and harder to hear people's point of views when people's point of views are just full of lies and mistruths and things that just aren't how they are. And I don't know. I'm frustrated. I'm hurt. I have I'm already like this completely neurotic, scared person in a lot of ways, you know? I'm like Woody Allen without the daughter screwing, and I'm just nebbish and neurotic, and this world is just like, it's just so hard, but we're going to try to get through it. And, you know, those of us who are Christians, we need to really focus on God and know that He is in control. And to those of you who listen who aren't, you know, I pray for you. I try really hard not to push my faith on anyone, but I pray you have something that is rock solid and anchor. You can attach your beliefs and morals to something that is objective and not subjective. And I mean, that's all I got. That's all I got right now. If I don't speak out about some of these things, even in this very small capacity, and I know these aren't hot takes, I know this isn't stuff that certain groups of people think and certain groups of people will disagree with, but whatever, you know, this is my stupid little camera and this is my stupid little show, and thankfully I'm not popular enough on any platform to get canceled, I think. But again, I really do love everyone, and I try really hard to love everyone, and not just me as a person, but as a tenet is my faith. And I view love as an action, which is something I've talked about before, which is something you can put into practice. And I was even having a debate whether I should even show this news story, because it does show black people attacking Asians in kind of a horrible way. But that's the story, what's going on. That's from a Bay Area station. So again, it's nothing out of hate. I just don't want to be blamed and attacked for the actions of others. And I just don't think that's such a crazy thing to ask for. And it's hard. It's real hard. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I love you. Go with Christ. And, you know, I have a few more in the pipes already working on. So hopefully I'll get those out. I do want to I'm just going to talk about some of these things, and that just is what it is. Anyway, take care, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Everything goes my way when I want it to. Everything rises above the soul. Everything wants to be my friend in need. What I want and what I need. I look up to my love and to my peace.